You're watching my weekly YouTube channel where we talk about life, we talk about travel, we talk about dogs, and above all, we talk about living above your fear and leaning into your faith. So go ahead, grab a cup of coffee, and come have coffee with me. Hey everybody, and welcome to Come Have Coffee with Me. Cheers. So anyways, today I have my friend Christy with me. Christy was my neighbor for years. She's a homeschooler. She's a lover of coffee and campfires and Jesus. Currently, she lives in Detroit, where her family went to be like tent working ministries, if that's the right way I can say it. Okay, but before we get into that, I know I mentioned my mom was coming on. She is soon enough. Can't push your mom too much because
she's busy.
She's busy. She's a busy lady.
She's busy.
Mostly being my taxi cab whenever I need it. I got a new job. I love it. So it's been great because these guys have been this week staying at my house. And so I actually could start my new job and know that Aubrey was coming home to you guys and fun. So God always works even all that little stuff out. Sure. But I want to give a little intro because, Christy, how long were we neighbors for? How long did you live in that house?
Oh, this is hard. Yeah, I know. 7 years? Okay.
But
we knew each other before that.
We did, but we really got to know each other when we lived down the street. 3 houses down. She lived 3 houses down from me. 3. I was very sad when she moved. I actually was pretty sure they weren't being called to any sort of ministry but me. Because if I say New Year's Eve at my house, what comes to your mind?
Bonfire. Big ones.
Big bonfires. But what else? What else? As time came in the evening.
Laundry folding.
Laundry. So, Christy, do you know it was 2 years in a row? I wrote it down in my journal. Really? Yeah. 2 years in a row. Wow. We had a third friend that joined us both years. But at midnight hit, everybody went home. But we kind of all stayed and went to my bedroom and folded laundry.
And it was so fun.
So if you don't have a friend that folds your laundry, then I'm sorry. But also, listen, don't let not having your laundry done stop you from inviting people over. So, anyways, we thought all our kids were outside, but one's straggling around. So.
I was like, what are you doing?
Which, speaking of, okay, so do you remember you used to bring your kids to my house and say, don't
get dirty.
Don't get dirty.
No, it doesn't.
That doesn't happen here.
It doesn't happen. She's got woods. She's got dirt. I mean, seriously.
Listen, Jonathan. Okay, so her youngest and Aubrey came in today asking if they could suit themselves up in trash bags. I don't even know if you knew this.
No.
And have a mud war. I said no. Like it's too late, and you guys got plans.
That's hilarious.
So it really is. And they were really trying to convince me why they're going to have these plastic bags on. They said we're going to have these trash bags over us, so we're not going to get dirty. Listen, sure you're not. So anyway, I could say, Christy, you can't do that to me. Your kids come and they're gonna get dirty. If not, like I literally lock them in my house. So, anyways, okay. So I have a fun little thing that I'm gonna do. This or that. Okay. So, you ready? Yes. I'm gonna start off with some easy things. But beach or mountains?
Mountains in a heartbeat. By the way, this is a beach town. If you didn't know this is a beach town.
Detroit's not a mountainous state or city.
It's not. But we do have hills further out. Okay.
Listen, the middle of the state has hills. My new job has me over in like Apopka in the middle of the state. Oh, it's pretty.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Yeah, beaches.
Yeah, coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee.
Okay. Okay, 2-story home or 1-story home?
Ooh.
Gotta pick one. You gotta pick one.
2.
2-story. Okay.
You get more steps in.
Oh, good for you. And you get the height. Okay. Chips or cookies?
Depends on the flavor.
Oh, you gotta pick chip or cookie.
Okay. Depends on the time of the month. Let's be honest. So
that's cookie. That's cookie.
Yes,
We're going with cookie. Okay, what about this? Talking about Bibles. English Standard Version or the NIV?
Neither.
What do you use?
What
do you read? What do you read?
So my favorite is, snap. Is it the parallel where they're next to each other?
Yeah, but that's versions. That's different versions.
No, amplified. That's what it is.
Oh,
it's
okay.
the amplified. So like it, in case you don't know, it's awesome. So it explains in like nowadays kind of words, but it goes in deeper to the context of like what's going on.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So
yes.
that sometimes, NASB sometimes.
Yeah, New American Standard. Yeah.
And depending on who I'm talking with.
Okay.
It honestly
Okay.
depends.
All right.
So,
yeah.
but,
I was just going with those two because I switched from the, actually went from NIV to New American Standard to English Standard Version. So anyways, just some fun stuff. Okay, early morning or late night?
It depends on who it's with.
You gotta pick one.
I can't.
With me.
Okay, so I'm not. With you. With you.
Oh,
anytime.
No, listen. It's you by yourself naturally. Early morning, late night.
Early morning.
Early morning. Okay, good. What about fly to Florida or drive to Florida?
Kids or no kids?
No kids.
Road tripping.
Yeah. I love a road trip too. Okay, all right. All right, so we're going to go back to Bible. Bible on your phone or Bible in the hard copy? What do you use more?
Okay, so honest truth, I use it on my phone but there is nothing like paper Bible.
Yeah, me too.
And I always
I'm the
carry
same.
one.
I'm the same. Do you get distracted in the phone Bible with other things?
No.
Okay.
Because it's to the point where so my personal quiet time is in the mornings, and so it is quiet, it's dark, and there's nobody up.
Yeah.
And so it is like only that, and if people are texting me, no offense to you, you're going to the side.
So what I'll do, because I can, struggle with those things, I will have a downloaded version. And then I will go offline so that no one can text me, nothing can come in. Yeah. And I'll even tell myself, you're not getting on social media, don't text anybody, it's okay. Because I'll read a verse and be like, oh my gosh, I had this conversation and whatever. So anyway, so we did that. That was fun.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to you guys that Christy and I met here in Florida, and the majority of people that live here aren't from here.
True that.
But then now she's moved on to Detroit, but... That's kind of where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a rural setting? Did you grow up in the suburbs, or did you grow up city?
Suburbia.
Suburbia of what city?
Suburbia, Indiana.
Indiana, okay.
So Indianapolis is here. I live right there.
Okay, right there. In the burbs.
In the burbs.
Yeah, okay. I was
the
not
bougie burbs, by
but
the way.
you grew up Quaker.
I did. I really did. I did.
There was a Quaker meeting hall, and we used to play Quaker meeting has begun. No more laughing, no more fun. If you show your teeth or tongue, you'll have to pay a forfeit. Starting right now. We would do it when we would go by the Quaker meeting halls on Quaker Ridge Road, back in my little town of Casco, Maine. So, but tell me, because they were all all the Quaker meeting houses were like shut down in New England.
Really?
When I was
That's
at least the
odd.
ones.
Oh.
But we always had Quaker meetings in the car. You just couldn't laugh or have fun. No, why would we say that? Tell me about being a Quaker.
Okay, so traditionally, I did not grow up like this. Let me state that first. So traditionally, they would have benches. You would have men on one side, women. Actually, I think it was men on this side, women on this side. So if you're facing it, and then it would be quiet. You walk in. It's a very prayerful place. It's a very quiet, reflective kind of time.
Okay.
But I didn't grow up like that. So I grew up in like a church. So like we intermixed men, women, youth, kids.
So what makes it Quaker? Because I thought they used to quake. Like there was actually some sort of quaking.
So that was part of it, definitely.
And that would be like people thinking that they were filled with the Holy Spirit, or what would that have, or is that just a little quirky? I don't know.
So it depends on where you find your information.
Okay.
So
okay.
I read a book.
Did you have any of that?
I mean, like...
That's a yes or no. You don't have to explain into it, kind of.
I'm gonna say, like, the quaking, no.
Okay.
But, like, we did in the service have, like, we would have the sermon and then we would have quiet. Okay. So we would all just kind of sit and reflect. And if somebody felt led, and this was a huge part of Quakers too, if somebody felt led by the Spirit to then speak, they would speak to the group like an encouragement or scriptures or something to kind of help the body as a whole.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I forgot that about you. We've never talked about that. Isn't that interesting? You could be friends with someone for a long time and never talk about, I mean, because life's big, right?
Sure.
All right, so how about this? When did you know that God was leading you into inner city missions? And I'm gonna stop there for a minute because I met Christy however many years ago before she was my neighbor, and like within a couple hours of knowing her, I knew she had a heart for inner city. So do you know when that first kind of call came?
Okay, so my first mission trip ever was to Jamaica.
Ooh,
and there is when I really solidified my relationship with God, but then like my heart for missions just started burning. And I was like, okay. So like even moving to Florida, when we told my parents, they were like, oh, okay, you're on this continent.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So they kind of understood because I had always thought I was going overseas.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, oh. So as far as Detroit goes, honestly, probably my first mission trip to Detroit.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
So my husband was involved with youth ministry.
Yeah.
And he had gone up with a friend of ours and our youth pastor at the time.
Yeah.
And
that's who I went to Detroit with.
Yep. So they had gone up and he was up there and he was like, he called me and we just had this thing when we're on mission trips, we don't really call each other.
Okay.
We just, we want you to be in the moment and very present with what you're doing. So we didn't, but he called me. He was like, okay, I've got to talk to you about this. And I was like, okay, well, like what's up? And he was like, you have to come here. And I was like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't like youth. Let's be honest. Sometimes they're a little quirky. But I was working in kids ministry. So I worked with the little people. Yeah. So I was like, youth, middle school, high school, they terrify me. And so I was like, why would I want to do that? But I was like, all right, if God says yes, if the leader says yes, sure, why not? I'll go. So I went up there and I just got to the city and I don't know how to really describe it, but like I just have like this pulsing inside my body. I just don't know how to describe it, but it's just like
you like came alive. Is when you do that. That's what that's saying to me.
So yeah, and it was just like, oh, okay, I love this.
Yeah,
and I love the people. I love the culture. I love the dynamics.
You love all of that. Okay, awesome. So this is the time in my show where I think, did I turn the video on? And then I go check it. So, and I did.
Okay. Hey, we gotta keep it real.
I can't help it. But anyways, I get that. You know, it's funny. Going to Detroit was the mission trip for me that gave me a heart. I always had a heart for missions, but gave me a heart for missions in my own neighborhood. Because when I went up there and I love the way that we did missions up there, and that organization still does. Detroit Love Inc. I will say that. And so go ahead and Google it. I think they got a website, Facebook. But anyways, I love the way they do missions. And so when I got there, and we literally went out to the neighbors, we met the people that were right around where we were staying, and I thought, this is so doable in my neck of the woods. Yep. Like, why am I not doing this with my neighbors? And so it really inspired me to do that. And besides the fact that my biggest issue has been with my direct neighbor, but God's working on me on that. But that was just recent. But anyways, that's where, Detroit was. So and I love that city. I don't know what it is about it. I haven't been there in about 10 years, but
you're always welcome back.
I know, and I'm coming. I'm coming. You know me. So, so let me tell you this. So you have this heart, and then now you're stuck here in a beach town, and tell me about that challenge of living here when you knew you were called somewhere else.
Ooh, okay. So that's a little weird, but it's good. So we were told early on so my husband is an amazing man. I'm just going to plug him there because he is fantastic. Oh, yeah. But
some housework done. Since he's been here.
He's a really good guy.
I got drywall patched. I got a couple of light things up.
So, but
you can stay anytime.
So we were actually on a train ride in a different country, And a pastor came up to us and said, one thing I need you to know. And I was like, okay, when somebody who has credibility with the Lord, like you can tell that they know something and they have a good relationship, you're like, okay, I should listen. So he said, wherever the Lord plants you, plant your roots deep and go deep in your community. And when the Lord transplants you, pull up those deep roots and you move them and you transplant deep. So he said, don't spread wide. He said, go deep. And so,
what does that mean to you? Go deep in your community.
So, for the time that we were here, we felt like we were supposed to do ministry here. So we started plugging into youth, we started plugging into kids, we started plugging into our neighborhood, we started plugging into the people that we would meet. And we were trying to go deep. Both my husband and I discipled and mentored multiple people, and we just love them even still. Mm-hmm. But we just...
My boys with Jeremy, for sure, and her husband, so for sure. Yeah.
So we tried to go deep relationships, not the shallow stuff, but the deep relationships to really get to know people and to help them walk out their faith. Yeah. But also, honestly, it was for us too. Yeah. Because when you rub up against people, it's the iron that sharpens iron. Yeah. It's like we have to buffer each other. Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah. You know. It's so funny when you said that, you were talking about that, and I was thinking about, we had a family that lived in between us, your neighbor, 2 doors down from me, and they... the kids raised themselves a lot. And I think about, remember the day we had all the leaves in a pile and we threw them all in the air and stuff like that. But I was even just thinking about how neat that was to be able to come alongside them on both our parts, but mostly you, because they were next door, and just to love on this hurting family that I miss. I miss them. They left too. Darn it, neighbors.
So sad.
Well, I had mentioned earlier that Christy and her family moved to Detroit as missionaries, and they really went in tent ministry. And you may have heard that. You might not know exactly what that is. So I thought the best way to read about it would be to read about it in the Bible. So in the book of Acts, chapter 18, this is talking about when Paul was in Corinth. So I'm going to read just 18 verses 1 through 4. And remember, when reading the Bible, don't let the names of things trip you up. Do your best and say it, and that's how it is.
Say it with confidence and just
go with it. Yeah. So, or even if you don't say it with full confidence, just go with it. So anyways, Acts 18, 1 through 4 says, after this, Paul left Athens and went to Corinth. Yeah. And he found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all the Jews to leave Rome, and he went to see them. And because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them and worked, for they were tent makers by trade. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and tried to persuade Jews and Greeks. So we can see he was of the same trade. So Paul ended up in Corinth, hooked up with Aquila and Priscilla, and started working tents, making tents. And then on the weekends, and it said in the synagogue, and every Sabbath, and he tried to persuade. So he worked and did ministry at the same time. And so my question for you, because Jeremy has his own business there, and then you are involved in your church, I know, and in your neighborhood. I know constantly. I live next to you. I know what you're like. Hey, listen, Jonathan, right before he left, I'll never forget, he showed up with a little Bible. He was giving me a Bible. I still have that somewhere. It was the cutest thing. I thought, this kid is made for ministry.
Well, okay, so he was actually named after, it's in Numbers. I think it's Numbers 12. He was named amongst the list of the Leviticus priest. I think it's Leviticus priest. Jonathan is mentioned in there. And when Jeremy was reading that to me, God said, this is your third son.
Name. And so I love
that's
him.
My third
He's
son.
A ticket. He is a ticket, that's for sure. But let me ask you this. What would you say to somebody who feels a call to ministry? They know that they're called, but whether it be a tent ministry or whether it be like full time, but they're like not in that position at all. Like they're either saying, I don't want to do it, and they're living like, not making poor choices, but what would you say to someone who knows that they were called to that, but they're living in a beach town when they were called to the inner city? You
Okay.
partially name that with getting those roots deep where you are.
Yep.
But your heart always was in the city.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you say it, I can actually think about it, but I'm like, oh yeah, I did, because I'm not a beach person. So, but okay. So the first thing, honestly, is seek God.
Mm-hmm.
We also had a wise person once tell us, seek God's face, not his hands. So when we seek his face, we get to know him, and we get to know his character, his depth, and more of like him. And then we can walk out what comes next. Whereas if we're seeking his hands, we're just looking for handouts and what he can do for us. So he's not a genie.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely seek God, because that will, and if you're on the path of continually seeking God, he'll make it very clear. I mean, I tell myself all the time, I tell my kids all the time, look, I am the dumb sheep. I am the dumb sheep who wandered off and who like rolled over somewhere.
Yep.
I'm the dumb sheep. So I ask God all the time, look, God, I love you. I want to do what is best. And I want to do what you want to do.
Amen.
Because honestly, like, this life is not for us. In case you didn't know this life is not for us.
Yeah, that's what I always say. There's a main character in your story, and it's not you.
It's not you. So
it's me. It's God. It's God.
It's God. But honestly, just seeking him and like reading his word, seeking out honestly, who he is.
Yeah.
And then the doors start to open.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you just know.
Yeah.
I
love it. I love it.
Okay, so we make it too complicated. Honestly, I really think we make it too complicated.
We do.
It's just follow God.
Yeah.
Read his word.
Yeah.
They're beautiful things.
Yeah.
I mean, legitly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting low on time, so I'm going to end with the thing I've kind of just been asking everybody, and it's when you hear that verse, that little section that says, draw near to God.
Yep.
What does that mean to you, to draw near to God?
Okay, honestly, got to go back to seek his face.
Yeah.
Just know him. Like, really dig into who he is, because the more we find God, the more we learn, the more we are changed, the more we grow, the more we have a ministry, the more we can talk to other people, because it's not about us. It's about him.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
it really is that.
Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much. I hope you were encouraged, and I know that I was, because it was a big step to move. They had to sell their house. They had to leave the neighborhood, and we really did. We had, at that point in time, our neighborhood was amazing.
Oh, it was so awesome.
We really did. It was all the right kids at all the right ages, and so it was a very hard decision. I'm happy that they did it.
Not really.
It was hard.
When you're called, just go.
It was hard. It was hard to leave me. Say it.
It was hard to leave Michelle. Yes, it was hard to leave Michelle, but it was not hard to leave here. I'm not a beach person.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Which is funny because I met you. You were living on beachside.
I know.
Whatever. 2 blocks from the beach here, 3 miles. But anyways, I hope you were encouraged, and go ahead and subscribe below if you don't mind, and check out Detroit Love Inc. And that's it. That's all I can say. So
there you go.
Peace out.
Come visit.
Of course it is. Okay. Bye, guys.
Peace out. Bye.
I think I laughed the most in that one. Thanks for watching. I hope you were encouraged in your faith, and I hope that you got some tools that you can use to grow deeper in your faith and draw near to God, and that you're inspired to walk this thing out. And so if you were encouraged, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel below. You can also get me on Facebook and Instagram at Michelle.Spanos. So thanks, and I'll see you next week.